Hello. Good morning. Happy Saturday. Yay. All right. November 2nd. It's a big week this week. It's a big week. Lots of things happening. Plus, it's Bassie's birthday this week and Mom's birthday and other things. All right. November 2nd. Jesus before the council. Mark 14:53 through 65. They took Jesus to the high priest's home where the leading priests, the elders, and the teachers of religious law had gathered. Meanwhile, Peter followed him at a distance and went right into the high priest's courtyard. There he sat with the guards, warming himself by the fire. Inside, the leading priests and the entire high council were trying to find evidence against Jesus so they could put him to death, but they couldn't find any. Many false witnesses spoke against him, but they contradicted each other. Finally, some men stood up and gave this false testimony. We heard him say, I will destroy this temple made with human hands, and in 3 days I will build another made without human hands. But even then they didn't get their story straight. Then the high priest stood up before the others and asked Jesus, Well, aren't you going to answer any of these charges? What do you have to say for yourself? But Jesus was silent and made no reply. Then the high priest asked him, Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One? Jesus said, I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated in the place of power at God's right hand, and coming in the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest tore his clothing to show his horror, and said, Why do we need other witnesses? You have all heard his blasphemy. What is your verdict? Guilty, they all cried. He deserves to die. Then some of them began to spit at him, and they blindfolded him and beat him with their fists. Prophesy to us, they jeered, and the guards slapped him as they took him away. Matthew 26:57 through 68. Then the people who had arrested Jesus led him to the home of Caiaphas, the high priest, where the teachers of religious law and elders had gathered. Meanwhile, Peter followed him at a distance and came to the high priest's courtyard. He went in and sat with the guards and waited to see how it would all end. Inside, the leading priests and the entire high council were trying to find witnesses who would lie about Jesus so they could put him to death. But even though they found many who agreed to give false witness, they could not use anyone's testimony. Finally, 2 men came forward who declared, This man said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days. Then the high priest stood up and said to Jesus, Well, aren't you going to answer these charges? What do you have to say for yourself? But Jesus remained silent. Then the high priest said to him, I demand, in the name of the living God, tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God. Jesus replied, You have said it, and in the future you will see the Son of Man seated in the place of power at God's right hand, and coming in the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest tore his clothing to show his horror, and said, Blasphemy! Why do we need other witnesses? You have all heard his blasphemy. What is your verdict? Guilty, they shouted. He deserves to die. Then they began to spit in Jesus' face and beat him with their fists. And some slapped him, jeering, Prophesy to us, you Messiah. Who hit you that time? Peter denies Jesus. Mark 14:66 through 72. Meanwhile, Peter was in the courtyard below. One of the servant girls who worked for the high priest came by and noticed Peter warming himself at the fire. She looked at him closely and said, You were one of those with Jesus of Nazareth. But Peter denied it. I don't know what you're talking about, he said, and he went into the entryway. Just then, the rooster crowed. When the servant girl saw him standing there, she began telling the others, This man is definitely one of them. But Peter denied it again. A little later, some of the other bystanders confronted Peter and said, You must be one of them because you are a Galilean. Peter swore, A curse on me if I'm lying. I don't know this man you're talking about. And immediately the rooster crowed the second time. Suddenly, Jesus' words flashed through Peter's mind. Before the rooster crows twice, you will deny 3 times that you even know me. And he broke down and wept. Matthew 26:69 through 75. Meanwhile, Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. A servant girl came over to him and said, You are one of those with Jesus the Galilean. But Peter denied it in front of everyone. I don't know what you are talking about, he said. Later, out by the gate, another servant girl noticed him and said to those standing around, This man was Jesus of Nazareth. Again, Peter denied it, this time with an oath. I don't even know the man, he said. A little later, some of the other bystanders came over to Peter and said, You must be one of them. We can tell by your Galilean accent." Peter swore, "A curse on me if I'm lying. I don't know the man." And immediately the rooster crowed. Suddenly, Jesus' words flashed through Peter's mind. "Before the rooster crows, you will deny 3 times that you even know me." And he went away, weeping bitterly. Luke 22:54 through 62. So they arrested him and led him to the high priest's home, and Peter followed at a distance. The guards lit a fire in the middle of the courtyard and sat around it. Excuse me. And Peter joined them there. A servant girl noticed him in the firelight and began staring at him. Finally, she said, "This man was one of Jesus' followers." But Peter denied it. "Woman," he said, "I don't even know him." After a while, someone else looked at him and said, "You must be one of them." "No, I am not," Peter retorted. About an hour later, someone else insisted, "This must be one of them because he is a Galilean too." But Peter said, "Man, I don't know what you are talking about." And immediately, while he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. At that moment, the Lord turned and looked at Peter. Suddenly, the Lord's words flashed through Peter's mind. "Before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you will deny 3 times that you even know me." And Peter left the courtyard, weeping bitterly. John 18:25 through 27. Meanwhile, as Simon Peter was standing by the fire warming himself, they asked him again, "You're not one of his disciples, are you?" He denied it, saying, "No, I am not." But one of the household slaves of the high priest, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, said, "Didn't I see you there in the olive grove with Jesus?" Again, Peter denied it, and immediately a rooster crowed. Jesus before the council, Mark 15:1. Very early in the morning, the leading priests, the elders, and the teachers of religious law, the entire high council, met to discuss their next step. Excuse me. They bound Jesus, led him away, and took him to Pilate, the Roman governor. Matthew 27:1 through 2. Very early in the morning, the leading priests and elders of the people met again and laid plans for putting Jesus to death. Then they bound him, led him away, and took him to Pilate, the Roman governor. Luke 22:66 through 71. At daybreak, all the elders of the people assembled, including the leading priests and teachers of religious law. Jesus was led before this high council, and they said, "Tell us, are you the Messiah?" But he replied, "If I tell you, you won't believe me, and if I ask you a question, you won't answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated in the place of power at God's right hand." They all shouted, "So are you claiming to be the Son of God?" And he replied, "You say that I am." "Why do we need other witnesses?" they said. "We ourselves heard him say it." Judas hangs himself, Matthew 27:3 through 10. When Judas, who had betrayed him, realized that Jesus had been condemned to die, he was filled with remorse. So he took the 30 pieces of silver back to the leading priests and elders and said, "I have sinned," he declared, "for I have betrayed an innocent man." "What do we care?" they retorted. "That's your problem." Then Judas threw the silver coins down in the temple and went out and hanged himself. The leading priests picked up the coins. "It wouldn't be right to put this money in the temple treasury," they said, "since it was payment for murder." After some discussion, they finally decided to buy the potter's field, and they made it into a cemetery for foreigners. That is why the field is still called the Field of Blood. This fulfilled the prophecy of Jeremiah that says, "They took 30 pieces of silver, the price at which he valued the people of Israel, and purchased the potter's field as the Lord directed." Mom, I'll send you a link when we're done. Oh, I'll send you a link directly to my Emma store. All right. We are on, I gotta switch the thingy. We are on page 120 of Good Words. Of course, we're so consumed with ourselves that there is a big part of us that just can't let go of the belief that God's claim on us is influenced, or at least in part, by our own contribution, by our worthiness. Certainly, I have to do something. I have to show him I'm worth it. I have to prove to him I'm better now. I've changed. I've grown stronger. I've finally whipped that tiresome old temptation to which I always give in. I can be one of the cool kids. The Apostle Paul says it's all just ridiculous. None of that has anything to do with being claimed. In an elated, breathless riff filled to the brim with stuff that we really need to hear, Paul says in Ephesians 1, in Christ you are blessed with every spiritual blessing. He chose you before the creation of the world. In love, he adopted you. If that isn't being claimed, I don't know what is. In case you missed it, this choosing happened before any do or didn't do or can't do on your part. You were lovingly adopted before you ever did a single thing, and it happened in accordance with his pleasure and will. It is all located in his desire for you, not in your desire for him. And it's all been freely given, not stingily given, not grudgingly given, freely given. That grace of God shatters any perception that his love is generated from our earnings or deserving or even from being all that likable. Children do not present a resume to their parents to be loved. The fact that we are called children of God, and in truth we are, 1 John 3, means that we do not need to offer a list of credentials to God that he might claim us. In Christ, he already has. God's love, mercy, and grace are always for you, specifically and individually for you. Despite your feelings, actions, thoughts, environment, or circumstances, God's love remains and will always remain faithful. He will always journey out into the cold darkness to come and rescue you. He will never fail to go to any and every embarrassing, inappropriate, questionable, sinful place in which you find yourself, or in which you intentionally hang out, to bring you home. That is what it means to be claimed. His love is persistent. We belong to a God. We belong to a God whose love will never fade, change, or waver. We belong to him because he loves us. In the end, you only really need the love and approval of one person, and you already have it. God says you are acceptable. You have been claimed. I don't know if at that time, John, my adult friend from youth group, understood what a difference he was making in my life. I'm not even sure I completely understood it. All I knew was how good it felt to be claimed, to be noticed, to be included, to feel valued, when I hadn't felt any of those things, but so deeply needed them all. And as I rode home with my dad, after he had come to meet me at a massage parlor, I can't say I fully appreciated the meaning it carried. But all these years later, I see it for what it was. I still do. That uncertain, embarrassed, awkward adolescence still lives on inside me, still craving the same things, still sometimes losing the battle and falling back into the idea that I'm not impressive enough for God or anyone else. But I now know that I have been claimed, and to be claimed is to be loved, and to be loved is to belong to Christ. Oh, so good. Joe. So good, Joe. Dang. Oh, yeah, I see you over here messaging me, Jamie. I see it popping up. Look, Jamie. Just kidding. Mom. The word frother is a big word. I'll send you one for your birthday. I don't know what to get this woman. She has everything. I'll send you a new frother for your birthday. You just watch for the Amma package, Mom. Don't even worry about using my link. I'll let go of the commission for you. I'll send it to you. I sent her 4 loaves of bread last week, and she said, "What do I owe you?" I said, "Consider her a birthday present, because I don't know what else to get you, so here's some bread." Because Publix has the world's best sprouted bread, so I ship it to Maine. What do you get a mother who literally has everything, including the best daughter on the planet? That's a good idea, Meredith. Some bubble wrap in bulk. I'll send it this year. Just the snark is. You know what? Buy your own frother. Making fun of me on my channel. This is my channel. I will send you a frother. It'll be there before your birthday, hopefully. I'll send it today. Morning, Kathy. All right, you guys. Anybody else get weepy during that reading or just me? Because I did. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and pray. God, our Father, thank you for this day and this time together and for each of these women that has come to share in devotions together. I pray that it blesses you, that it honors you, that we come together. God, I know it blesses me. I just thank you for each woman here. I thank you for their contribution to this community. I thank you for each and every one of them. And I know the struggles that are going on in many lives right now. I know them intimately and I know them personally. And I know the struggles that they all are dealing with. And I just lift each one of them up to you. And I pray for your grace and your mercy. God, as we enter this week that is likely to be very difficult for our country, I just pray for your grace to abound this week in our hearts, in everyone's hearts, as we walk through what is likely to be a difficult season for our nation. And I just pray for your mercy that we really don't deserve. And yet I just ask for your mercy. I ask for us to all have grace-filled hearts this week. I ask that you would help us all honor you with our words that we use online, that we use in public, that you would just fill us with grace for others this week. In your precious name I pray. Amen. All right. You better treat our mama nice. Don't you worry. I'm good to her sometimes. She always says every time I call her, well, call back sometime, okay? Because it'll be like 2 weeks before I call. I'm not very good at being a daughter. Listen, I'm not a good mom, and I'm not a good daughter. Getting on the phone, she said, I know some people's daughters call them every single day, and I don't, because I'm not good at it. I'll go 2 weeks and be like, geez, I haven't talked to mom in a while. I should call. I get wrapped up in my own head and forget there's other people in the world that want to talk to me. All right, Mom, I'm getting online right now and mailing you a frother from Amazon for your birthday. I'm gonna have them wrap it too, so it'll be like a little surprise. You can unwrap it. You can be like, oh, a frother! I had no idea. Exactly, Jennifer. Exactly. I know, Meredith. I'm really not. Being a mom is not my greatest talent. All right, you guys. I love you all. I should make something today because I should have something in this house for a treat. Although, if there's one thing I don't need this week, it's treats. I've had a bad week on the scale. I don't even want to tell you how much the scale has gone up over the last week and a half on semaglutide. I don't even want to talk about it. But I should have something in this house to eat this week, some kind of treat. Thanks, Frida, for making me look even worse than I felt. Rita, can you ask your 40-year-old to call my mother every day? It would be helpful. Maybe if she could call my mom and just pretend to be me. I know, but I weighed today. I didn't weigh on Wednesday. I weighed today. I waited until the travel fluid left my body. That's a good idea, Meredith. I should find something. I'll look around, see if there's anything I can make this morning. And if not, then I'll talk to you all later. I still have a scone from the cafe. Hopefully it's not molded. All right. I love you guys. Jennifer. I love it. She's a wise woman. All right. I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing Saturday. And I could do SOS brownies. Do you think I could make a fuel pull version of the SOS brownies? Do you think I could do that, Jamie? A fuel pull brownie? My nose is running. All right. I love you guys. I'll go live at some point if I can get off my butt. I need to get upright first. I love